This week, I put a quote up on social media, and the quote goes like this: "Some people just talk, some of us just get on with it." And it's an interesting quote and actually attracted some interesting comments and follow from various people around the world. But that quote was more about people who talk and procrastinate versus those who just get on with it. That actually then starts to make me actually think about leaders in general, but with a different spin on it. Who makes the best leader? The talker who tends to excel at communication, or the doer who takes decisive action? Now, some leaders are great at communicating and are successful, and then there are those that tend to waffle a lot. Then there are those leaders who get things done, but at what expense? So the question is, which leader is the most effective in getting results? Let's discuss.
Welcome to Leadership is Changing. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change. This is taking your leadership to another level by finding the balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing with your host, Denis Gianoutsos.
Hey, welcome to the Ask Dennis episode. This is a freestyle episode where I'm asked a question by our listeners, or I share my thoughts, experiences, and insights from working with many leaders around the globe. Hey, it's great to be with you today to discuss today's topic: how action-oriented leaders turn ideas into results. Thanks to all the listeners who are listening to this podcast, number 25 in China and number 27 in Japan. Thank you for doing that. It's really great. And hopefully we're going to get a little bit higher in that on those charts, but massive markets, right? And it's just really great to see that happen. So who makes the best leader? The talker who tends to excel at communication, or the doer who takes decisive action? Now, in the area of leadership, individuals tend to fall into two broad categories. There's those who talk, and then there's those who take action. Now, you might be saying, hang on a sec, are you sure? Maybe there's some others. Well, let's talk about this. So while effective communication is undoubtedly a crucial aspect of leadership, the ability to take decisive, massive action often sets apart the truly successful leaders from the rest. Now, in today's episode, I want to explore the importance of action-oriented leadership and how that impacts the success of individuals and also organizations. So the talkers, leaders who tend to excel at communication, they play a central role in the organization, and they are visionaries, they are the strategists, and they tend to be the motivators and the inspirers. Now, these leaders have the ability to articulate a compelling vision, inspire their teams, and foster a culture of collaboration and innovation. Their words can actually ignite or drive passion. It can actually drive change, and it can tend to build consensus. However, there is a potential pitfall for leaders who primarily rely on their communications. In other words, that's the only thing they tend to rely on. Without action to back up their words, their vision remains just that, a vision. Inspirational speeches and having grand plans are meaningless without the solid steps to bring them to life. Now, the effectiveness of talkers is that it's really determined by their ability to translate words into action and results. I know of leaders around the world who are great at this and fantastic, but for some of them, they don't always get the results they are wanting or that they deserve. Now, from the other spectrum, on the other side of things, there is the doers. So I'm going from one side of the spectrum to the opposite side of the spectrum where there are the doers, right? Now, these leaders may not be so eloquent, but they possess an ability to execute. They are problem solvers. They are implementers. They're the ones who tend to roll up their sleeves to get things done. Now, doers understand that taking massive action is critical to success, both for themselves, but also for the organization. Now, action-orientated leaders can be characterized as being decisive, persistent, and also resilient. They're not afraid to take risks and make some tough decisions and have those tough discussions. Their focus is on results, and they continuously push their teams towards achieving those tangible outcomes and results. Now, this tends to be a hands-on approach, which often leads to swift progress and sometimes, significant accomplishments. They can also come across as micromanagers or getting things done, but at the expense of others. Now, I said that earlier on as well, but what do we mean by the expense of others? They can be leaders that are running so fast, they can tend to run over people and sometimes leave people behind. People may not be happy with the way that things are getting done, but you know what? They've got the results. So the question is, when you think about the person who's the talker versus the doer, which leader is the most effective in getting results? Well, I don't think it's either one of them. Both of them get results, but the thing here is this, I like to call it the synergy. It's the balance of both talk and action. So the most effective leaders understand that the key to success really lies in the balancing of that communication and action. A leader who can articulate a clear vision and then take the necessary steps to achieve it creates a powerful synergy. It's amazing on what can be actually done. Now, having the balance actually ensures that the organization not only knows where it's heading, but also has a solid plan to get there. Successful leaders blend the strengths of both talkers and doers. So it's not just for you as an individual to be able to do that, but also helping your team become a blend of both talkers and doers. Talkers meaning great communicators. Doers being people who take action and implement and get results. So if they can use their communication skills to set the direction and inspire their teams while also demonstrating a commitment to taking action. This approach really starts to foster trust, credibility, and respect among the team members, and they see their leaders with their words consistently being backed up with their actions. So the question I've got here is, what's the impact of action-oriented leadership? Action-oriented leadership has an amazing impact on the success of individuals and the organization. But there's a few key benefits in actually making it and putting it in place. Number one could be increased productivity. So leaders who take action set the pace for their teams. Their example tends to encourage others to work diligently, leading to higher levels of productivity and efficiency. Number two would be an enhanced problem solving. In other words, these leaders are quick to identify and address issues. They don't muck around. They see them and they get on with it. And that proactive approach ensures that problems are being resolved promptly, minimizing disruption while at the same time maintaining that momentum that they have created. Number three is greater accountability. So when leaders lead by example, it creates that culture of accountability. Team members are more likely to take ownership of their responsibilities and strive to meet their goals. Number four is improved morale. Seeing a leader actively involved in achieving the organization's objectives boosts team morale. It fosters a sense of shared purpose and commitment, which is essential for long-term success. There's a catch, and a lot of what I'm talking about today, that doesn't mean that the leader has to do everything. I talked about them rolling up their sleeves and getting involved, but that doesn't mean they have to be doing all the work, because a smart leader is going to delegate very well. Number five is accelerated growth. Organizations that are led by action-oriented leaders tend to be more agile and adaptable. Being adaptable as a leader is a huge skill set to have. It's an amazing thing to have, especially in today's fast-paced, ever-changing world, because you can respond quickly to changes in the market, seize new opportunities, and you can drive continuous growth. While I've been talking about communication as a vital aspect of leadership, the ability to take massive action and makes things happen is what ultimately drives success. So the leaders who can balance talk and action tend to inspire confidence, achieve their goals, and lead the organization to new heights. So in a world where results matter, being a doer is not just an advantage, it is a necessity. Being a communicator is not just an advantage, but is something that is vital to take everyone on the journey. A balance between both is a leader that's going to bring the organization forward, and one that can actually make things happen in a great way. The call to action this week is to download the 10 Ways to Lead in Today's World document that's available for you. I've created a guide for you based on these interviews that I have with the leaders around the world. And if you go to the show notes, there's a link for you to click and just to check it out, and read it. And it's actually really quite cool. It's a real easy read, just 4 or 5 pages, and it's available for you right now if you go and click on that link. Hey listeners, that's it for this episode. It's always a pleasure being with you. Thanks for joining me on the Leadership is Changing podcast. Until next time, bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Leadership is Changing with your host, Denis Gianoutsos. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change, inspiring executives and leaders to adapt and lead a bigger game in a fast-moving world.